Hey, everybody. How's it going this wonderful night? It is the 29th, one day left in November, and the early release of Godzilla Minus One has come and gone. Hello to you, Alice, and hello to you, Tokupunk. So, was it peak or nah? Yes, this film, Godzilla Minus One, having watched this movie, it was incredibly peak. I am so happy that this film came out. I'm so happy to have seen the film on the 29th, and I go to work tomorrow, and then I get to see it again twice on Friday, and I will be doing another one because at that point I would have seen the film 3 times, so I can have another impression in terms of like whether I think the film is as peak as I believe the film is right now. So Cedar 211. I did it. Karu. Hello. The Knot of Kaiju. Hello, Vic. How's it going? What's up? I'm watching it on Friday, so no spoilers. So, I'm gonna try to do this in a way that allows people who still want to tune in to the stream or ask me questions like more related to Minus One but less spoiler related, because I can do that without a problem. But if I'm gonna like spoil a huge section of the film or go into specifics, you're gonna get the Tizami spoiler. You can get that label right there. So if you see Tizami spoilers, it means that hey, I am providing lay spoilers. So in that case, just mute it, and once I stop, it goes away. So if you want to kind of stay in the chat and not have to worry about like leaving because you're afraid of spoilers, I will try to be as consistent with that as possible so that everyone can enjoy things as much as they want to while they're here. And of course, yeah, do not overtly try to spoil the movie for people who don't want to be spoiled. I think that's important. I don't really care about spoilers, honestly. If I like something, I'm gonna want to know as much about it as early as possible because I'm that excited and I have no impulse control. So it's never bothered me, but I know it bothers some people. So there you go. I want to see it right now because I'm very low on money and a bit under the weather. So prob next week. I think, I believe that it is in theaters for about like either a week or like a full weekend. So you have time to watch it again. And I'm going to be checking what my next week's schedule looks like because I will definitely go see it again. Like I don't think my opinion on the film is going to change all that much, honestly. So yeah. But I hope that you'll be able to see it, and if not, hopefully you can work out something. So this is the scariest Godzilla. Is it true? Is this the scariest Godzilla? Having seen the movie, I would have to probably agree because this is one of the only films where you have Godzilla going out of his way to kill people. I know some people said he's going out of his way to kill specific people. No, but he is going out of his way to kill people. Godzilla throughout the entire film, like, really just has a beef with humans, and yeah, he kills a lot of people. And there are some scenes, most of these are earlier in the movie, where you're like, oh wow, like I never thought I'd be able to see Godzilla kill someone like that. It was crazy. But yeah, no, Godzilla kills a lot of people and is just like overall like really aggressive. I believe yeah. I am not entirely sure. I am skeptical. Is it possible? Maybe, but that is my thought on that. They topped the hospital scene in GMK, so like, it's not a spoiler. This isn't a spoiler, but I know some people compared some scenes to Jurassic Park. If anyone has seen Jurassic Park 3 and The Lost World and remembers the buck and doe attacking the hunter's camp in The Lost World and the first encounter with the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3, there are some scenes that Godzilla has that are very, very similar to those in some way. That's all I will say on that, and it gets brutal. I'll say that. But there's some other scenes that are like they're less on the brutal side and more on just like that is catastrophic because there are so many people who probably died as a result of this. So there are scenes like that as well. Like it is it's really, really cool what they did with Godzilla in this movie. And some people were saying that Godzilla is kind of weird because of how he's animated, in the sense of he'll do like one step, a janky walk, a janky walk, and janky walk. And does he do that for the entire movie? No. I believe that it was intentional because of something that happens in the movie, and you'll understand what that is because there is a clear difference. It happens very early on, so you'll know why he's doing that, and I'll probably go into that in more detail come Friday. So, yeah, we'll be doing a lot more things come Friday when it comes to revealing the spoilers. It looks like not a lot of people, at least in chat, got to see it, so I don't want to do too much spoileronics for that. But if there's actually if there's one thing I have to say, it's wait a second, did Yamazaki invade my mind? Because there's obviously been doing some of my own kaiju stuff, and one of the novels I was working on is essentially a rewrite of Godzilla 98, and part of like the end of this movie was similar to the ending of the novel I'm working on, and I'm like, yo, that's not fair. That's not fair. I'm doing a rewrite of a movie with a dinosaur kaiju, and now you do this, and I haven't even released the book yet. And now if I do release, we were like, oh wow, you copied that from -1. I'm gonna be like, no, I've been planning this for years. It's not my fault. But speaking also of the CGI too, there's also people who said that it's not the best, and I think it's genuinely fair to say that. I forget, like, what was I know that there was a proposed budget, and then there was a like what the budget like probably is. Let me see if I can find again what the proposed budget was. So -1 budget, yeah, 15 million. So for 15 million, they definitely did what they could to stretch the like effects, and I think for 50 million it's still pretty good. There's some shots that like are really good, some shots that are but I think like, was I expecting something similar to the Monsterverse? No. But I will say this, like, it has better CGI than some of like the recent Marvel stuff, and those have like crazy like ballooned out budgets. So I think that generally if you're someone who cares a whole lot about effects, you may be slightly disappointed, but it's not the worst thing in the world. I will say that. The CJ's masterpiece is the Marvel's crazy. Yeah, no, speaking of the Marvel and all the controversy that comes with that movie and just like some of the actors behind it, before like I got to see it, I know on the Godzilla channel they did like little like hellos from the actor and actress who was Noriko and Shikishima, and the humility that they show and just like their unfamiliarity with Godzilla, but the desire to like really do the best they could and like do something awesome for the fans and for the franchise speaks to levels of responsibility and respect I think is lacking with so many property films. And I think -1 has a lot to teach a lot of the modern slop that's out nowadays. And speaking of like the modern movies, I remember even when I was younger, um, like seeing Godzilla 2014 when that came out, and I was much younger, much more impressionable, and I didn't even think I was like, it was awesome to see Godzilla was back, but was I like, man, this is the best Godzilla movie ever? No. Um, when I saw Shin, I thought it was one of the better Godzilla movies. Didn't think it was like my favorite or anything, and I think even if you listen back to the review I did years ago when I really like did movie reviews, which I think -1 is like the only film I should bring it back for. Like I didn't even think that was like the best Godzilla movie ever. I thought it was like one of the best for the time, but not even like the best or like better than the original. And then King of the Monsters, I saw that multiple times, liked it for what it was. I didn't think that was like the best Godzilla movie of all time. And I was the anime films. I mean, like, I didn't get to see those in theaters like some people. As much as like I'm not a fan of like them and as a whole, I will always be jealous of you, Matt, for the going to see those in theaters. But like again, I thought they were something. Not like the best, but yeah, and then GVK. That was another film that I was like, okay, it's like cool that we got a rematch between Godzilla and Kong, but I didn't think it was like nowhere near the best Godzilla movie ever. But with -1, I think without a doubt, I think it's better than Shin, and I think it is up there with the original. I don't think necessarily it is better than the original. It does a lot of things different, and the note it lands on is also very different. It's similar to one other movie, but it's the ending is like, and the tone of the ending is not like that of the original. And I think because of that, there's enough differences where I can be like, you can't really watch one and substitute for the other. Although I do think watching -1 is, I would say honestly, if you have someone who is not a Godzilla fan and you want them to watch the original and they just cannot get into old films, like they can't do black and white, they are on so much zoomerism and normie that they cannot watch a black and white film or a black and white foreign film, then I would say give them -1. And also I would say, like, because it's probably going to happen, I wouldn't be surprised if Funimation picks this up and they do a dub for it. Like, give them the dub of -1 as like an intro, but then see if you can get them into 54 as quickly as possible, because I think again they're really good companion pieces to each other. But I think this is like a very good modern substitute for Godzilla. Because from experience, I've had people who watch Shin Godzilla. Some people were like, "Oh, it's really cool." Some people thought, "Oh, it was cool," but like, some of the Anoisms were just kind of, well, Anoisms. So that is always going to be a hurdle for those for the Shin films, in my opinion. And I think that the pacing for -1 and overall, like what it's trying to tell, I think is just more accessible, but I also think is more well done. So that's what I'd say. 2014 was the first PG-13 film I saw. I didn't care much at first, but I grew to like it. It's not the best. I thought Shin was peak when I first watched it. Still do. I mean, like, yeah, I like Shin. I just like, I don't think it's as amazing as I thought it was when I first saw it. I think there's still problems, and I think that probably there will be problems for -1 the more I watch it. But like at the moment, I didn't think Shin was peak when I first saw it, but I do think this is peak when I saw it. Oh, I just pressed off it. Sorry. Do we hold the original to the high standard, to a high standard, or is it that good a film in the entirety of the franchise? Yeah, I think it's a good film in the entirety of the franchise, but I do know that certain people have issues watching foreign films, so like they'll be like, oh, I can't really like watch an old film. It's same things like when you try to get people to watch King Kong, they'll be like, oh, it's like, I know it's a really like important film, but I just can't do stop motion, or I just can't do black and white. In that case, I'd say give them -1. Give them -1 if they can't do old Godzilla just yet. You have to slowly wean them into it. But what else can I really say that's not super spoilery? Yes. There's some interesting things in regards to that will probably come up later on Friday. But what I will say is, when it comes to the film and its characters, very well done. People said they're melodramatic, but I think given the context of this being a post-war period and you're just kind of grappling with a lot of emotions, I think it makes a whole lot of sense. Like, moments right after like a tragedy are always going to be subject to like heightened emotions like this in a lot of some of the characters. So I would say that it's fair to some of the characters are acting the way they are. And I think specifically the main character, there's a lot of people who say like, oh, this character is literally me. I will be honest with you. Shikishima is the literally me protagonist of Godzilla movies, and the closest characters to that at the time had been Shujo from Tokyo SS. So yeah, Shikishima actually does take the top spot as my favorite human character and favorite human protagonist of any Godzilla film. And although like some people might say, what about Serizawa? Serizawa is like, I sometimes I don't even consider him the protagonist of 54. I think he's like a secondary but very important secondary character of 54, because it doesn't feel like 54 has like a distinct protagonist, unlike how the book has another character as like the main protagonist. But yeah, Shikishima is a literally me character for Godzilla movies now, and he is literally me. Ryan Gosling is a -1. In a lot of ways, ironically enough, if people have seen Blade Runner 2099, no, not 2099, 2049, jeez, and they remember how he played K in that movie, Shikishima has not the same arc, but like he has a very similar kind of presence to him, in a sense where he's very closed off in certain cases, but like when you see his emotions, you could really see a lot of pain because of what he's gone through. And I think that it really just resonates to me, but I think also another plot point that is expounded upon very early on in the movie, I think speaks not just to me specifically, but like if you're a younger male viewer, and by younger male viewer, I mean like if you're closer to like 16, 17, you're either like coming out of high school, going into college, I do think that like his character can speak to a lot. And like, no joke, I do think that. And I think that he and even the other people around him are very well written. Even if some of them are kind of more archetypes, I do think that what they say either captures something that was needed to be said about either the environment, like Japan, the Japanese military, or sort of the sentiments of civilians post-war, and like where they put blame or what they think they should have done. And I think that it's a credit to Yamazaki as a director by being able to essentially create a post-war alternate history involving Godzilla in this way, because like at this point, unlike in 54 where you don't have America anymore, because at this point in 54 America's pulled out and the Japanese Self-Defense Force is established. The original Godzilla really does have it be Godzilla versus Japan. It's very similar in this film, but because of, although this isn't like, I will do this. These aren't super Tizzy spoilers, but if you care about spoilers, just mute the video. And I will say this for the people who do not care. Even though, so in the film, Godzilla, as he's attacking ships, what we realize is that America does know about his existence, but if it were to mobilize in the Pacific around Japan, it could stoke Cold War tensions. So because of that, even though at this historical point in time America should be intervening, they cannot, because they are politically like tied. So I do find that interesting. How do you rank -1 in the Reiwa and Monster series? Number 1. Yeah, that's easily number 1. That goes without saying. Yeah, no, that goes without saying. Easily number 1. Followed by like, I'd probably say Shin is number 2, and then Caught Him in 2014 like would be 2014 and Caught Him would switch between 3 and 4, and then GVK would probably go after, with the anime films maybe at the bottom. Yeah, I'd say that's where I'd put them, kind of. Favorite movie review. Are you asking like favorite like reviewer, or like video that someone did reviewing a movie? But if anyone has any questions that they want to ask, like other questions I want to ask in regards to the film that isn't like they don't want to be spoiled, but they just kind of want to know something else similar to questions I have gotten, shoot. I'll be super curious to see what people say in regards to in like what people want to know, because like there's a lot I want to say, but like I do not want to spoil too much for you guys. What else is oh, I guess this isn't necessarily a spoiler. We do get to see Godzilla use his atomic breath more than once, more than twice, but we actually see something interesting, and I'm going to, when I see the film again Friday, I want to confirm it, because I think this is the case, but there's an interesting mechanic as the like why his atomic breath is the way it is, and I do think that that is like, I think how they were able to keep Godzilla very powerful, but also like not make him super overpowered and like need something like a super weapon to fight against him properly. What's with the switch axe tail? So I think everyone, like, this isn't necessarily a spoiler either. The spines that come out of Godzilla's body are for just the atomic breath. Isn't really much else. So if someone's like, oh, there's gonna be like a huge like mega plot point about like how why his spikes jump out of his body, no, but it does play into how they fight against Godzilla. I will say that. Where would you rank Singular Point? It's my third favorite. That's weird. Because Singular Point's a TV show, not a movie. So what it can do versus what a movie can do are two different things, and I think that it would be unfair to kind of rank Single Point because I think like there might be some things if like King of the Monsters or another film had its story done in the same format as Singular Point, they probably could do better. But if we're just talking about purely on designs, Ultima is like my third favorite design. -1 at the moment being my favorite. And I will say this too, actually. Having seen the film, and there's like really good shots of him just sort of walking around, both in because we have seen parts of the Ginza attack, but we also get to see shots of him just like out in the open, and he's definitely like really like the design. I'll actually do this right here. I'll show off the face because I do have the -1 here with me. So when you see him from the front, similar to the figure here, he's really chunky up front, and I honestly have to say that the hands on the Bandai Movie Monster series are a little small. Like they're kind of small versus to how the actual 3D model looks. And the legs also look the legs on the body look a little thinner in a silhouette, but in profile he still looks really chunky, which is interesting. But yeah, like even the thighs, I would say actually the thighs are longer on the CGI model, and I'd say the feet are a little smaller too. Like even let me pull this down. There we go. Because Ultima's Bandai was the same way, where as you can see, a lot of the proportions are scrunched down just to accommodate having a like a Bandai Movie Monsters figure, while the same thing I'd say applies for -1. So I know Super 7 actually showed off. They are doing a portrayal of -1. So while we are doing that, I'm going to go look for that in the meantime, because there's some really good shots where I can find of just like of all the stills they used. Godzilla -1 Super 7. Yeah, there we go. So there's the figure. I hope it shows off all of. Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. So the Godzilla website does have it, so we'll show that off. I love the Zim jump scare. Yes, I jump scared you all. And what's Brandon? Yeah, don't worry. Like I said, Alice, let me bring it back up. If you see this scrolling, it does mean I'm talking about spoilers, so just mute the audio. If it is not, yeah, if I'm not talking about spoilers, that's not going to be there, so don't worry. Why is it not presenting? Share screen. There we go. That is on some this. So yeah. No, why is it? There we go. Okay, so I just can't do like a full screen of it, I guess. But at least this is what they're showing off as the figure itself, as what they're doing. I would even say like at this angle from how we see it in the film, this is still kind of big, to be honest, personally. Although I'd say here, at least with this prototype, this is about right. Although I do still think the thighs are still too large. But then right here, this looks pretty spot on as to how he looks in the movie from a profile angle. And at least from this angle, the head looks larger. The thighs don't look as huge. And the leg looks far more digitigrade, which I really like. And this thing's only it's gonna be only $85, although plus like shipping and stuff, but that's gonna be far more inexpensive in comparison to the SH Monstars figure, which I was like, I really wanted to get, but I'm like, I cannot justify spending that much money on a figure at this moment in time. Mainly because I have bills to pay, but there was another figure I am putting a pre-order down for, so I cannot really justify spending that much money on 2 figures because I really, really want the other figure that I'm going to be getting this coming Friday. You think there will ever be a sequel? So Shin Godzilla had a proposed sequel. I think Anno said he wanted to make a sequel. I know he proposed one. But Toho said no. There hasn't been anything for Shingeki Point Season 2 yet, but like the X-Files, I want to believe. The MonsterVerse has been the only thing that's gotten sequels, and with things like Legacy of Slop, they continually mess up their own world building just so they can have drama. So am I confident -1 will get a sequel? Not really, unfortunately. Can it? Yes, it very much can. The film leaves itself. The film tells its own story, and it could definitely do a sequel. And I will say this as well. It will, like this film, could lead into another sequel that does not take place anywhere close to the events of -1. That is how well they have set up like the ability to do sequels for another movie because of not only the nature of Godzilla in this movie, but also because of where everything is by the end of the film. So could there be a sequel? No. Do I think there will be? No. Do I want to? Yes. Do you think New Empire will be improvement over GVK? I think if you really like the more, honestly, Marvel-y direction that the MonsterVerse went with, like, caught him to one degree, but GVK, I do think that you're going to like what is going on in New Empire, if what I've seen spoilers-wise is to be believed. Like, that's what I'd say. I'm not going to spoil anything in regards to the toy leaks, but I don't know. Like right now, I'm just happy with -1 because I got exactly what I've been asking for a long time, and that was a new Godzilla movie with well-written characters set near to post-war and dealing with a version of Godzilla that does not do anything too drastic and is trying to bank its film potential off of having a wacky Godzilla. Because I think in the case of every Japanese Reiwa Godzilla, they've tried to do something like really like out there with the character overall with their like mainline interpretations. And like the crossover stuff being rather mundane. -1 feels like a breath of fresh air, honestly. Because Shin, we had the multiple forms, and all the design is like more traditional, like in a lot of ways, like silhouette wise compared to like a 98. It still's like kind of out there. I liked it for the film, and I'm happy that we got it. I did not want to see that design appear like multiple times. Not really. Ultima is, again, my third favorite Godzilla design, but they wanted to do multiple forms. They also referenced a bunch of other kaiju in those forms, which, cool. Like, it was really nice to see them do that. I still kind of wish to some degree that they just bin those monsters instead of forms of Godzilla. But I do like Ultima. He has really good scenes. He works well for what he is. And his final fight with Jet Jaguar was cool. Earth is, in my opinion, the one out of those three that it has like the most wasted potential, because he's the largest interpretation. We have very few establishing shots to really show off his size, like just how big he is. And he has some interesting powers, which aren't showed off as much. And almost everything interesting about him happens in books that I doubt will ever see translations in America. Although, if we ever get something similar to what Minnesota Press did with the original Godzilla novels, then maybe, but those aren't based off of like acclaimed films. So we probably won't see those unless like you go looking for fan translations. Well, I mean, everyone's gotta love Salamogus. But yeah, Earth is the worst design out of the Japanese Rainbow interpretations. And well, so you're technically right in the sense where there was no multi-forms. I guess if we want to count like Scarlet Earth as a form, sure. Because all Earth really did to go from like Phileas size to Earth was just grow. So like I wouldn't even say he had like forms because Scarlet was essentially like a power up that went away in the next film. So it's kind of like minus is like the seconds essentially. And yeah, at least from what I've heard, Yamazaki, no, not Yamazaki. I'm blanking on the anime director's name. Not Yamamura. Someone's gonna correct me in the comments or the chat, but I think at one point he had said that like he wanted to do like a Monster of the Week kind of versus thing, but Toho said no. And it's like, Toho, why did you do that? Like, I understand like you kind of wanted films instead of a show, I guess, but like, oh, like Gamma Rebirth has some problems with it, but it just does what people would want so much more than the like anime films. But neither here nor there. From Godzilla, there's another live stream going on from Godzilla guy. I'm not familiar with. I'm not familiar with who that is. That or I'm just really tired. I don't know. Oh, I know who that is. Yep. Yeah, I know. No, why not? We could probably raid his stream, see what he's doing. So I have a YouTube tab open up so I can stream Seption this for everyone. Unless for some reason it wants to say that I am not signed in. Oh, there I go. Okay. Yeah. He's talking about the movie at the moment. Not the movie, well, the movie soundtrack. Oh yeah, he's talking about the what's it called? The here it is. He's talking about the second Godzilla theme with the King Kong bits to it. Yeah. Yeah, let's rate them. We're gonna share. Yep. Entire stream. We're gonna share audio too. Everyone real quick, just go raid the stream. Yeah, it's 7 of us, but whatever. Listen. Everyone also like rate it and say like Zimzilla. Let's see. I want to see people if he notices.
Right here. Dude, Kong 62 right there. I knew I wasn't crazy. I just wanted to stream. The stream's pretty much over, everybody. I just wanted to show you. This is a fun fact. You can
That's thank you, Toku Punk.
I know this song by heart. And Kong -1.
That would be an awesome experience.
I wasn't going nuts. I thought, I'm like, holy shit. Maybe I did it. Maybe I just heard it. but I knew it. This is no spoilers. Kong isn't actually in it. Well, I guess it's kind of a spoiler to say.
Kong's in
but
it, guys. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
Kong's in it. My bad.
I mean, I think it's
Um,
obvious.
But
Obvious.
dude, okay, that's it for stream, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
It was literally it was just
Dude,
that. That's funny. Now I'm like, I'm gonna get like a DM from him being like, yo, why did you like did you send people to like raid my stream or something? Or like be like, yo, people just kept talking about you. Like, were you watching my stream? Although, like, granted, it was so towards the end, you may not even notice. But yeah, actually, if he's gonna talk about the soundtrack, I might as well because I do have all of it downloaded on my phone. In terms of like all the suites, since this had been out since I think early November, I'm not counting this as a spoiler either, because there's 3 Godzilla suites. The first one is the earliest one you hear in the movie, and it is closest to that of the Mothra versus Godzilla version. Oh, I'm hearing something else in the background. There we go. Autoplayed on me. But yeah, so Godzilla Suite 1 through the soundtrack is closest to Mothra versus Godzilla's theme in terms of that Godzilla suite. The second one, which you just heard from Godzilla guy, was Suite 2, which has bits of the King Kong versus Godzilla music in it. And then the final one, which is Godzilla Suite 3, is closest to that of just kind of a almost generic version of the Godzilla theme, where the sting before you hear that iconic bit has much more punch to it, and you hear it in a lot of the newer stuff. And I think like Suite 3 is essentially closest to what the modern version of the theme is. But so many of these bits, such as like I know fear, confusion, honor, pride, divine, they are in the film, they are very, very subdued, and you only hear them when there are like moments of silence, and because of that, it really adds to those moments of silence. Or if like a scene is really intense, they'll have that music ramped up, and it just the music does its job well, but it does not carry emotional scenes. I think because most of the emotional scenes are actually done without much music, so because of that, you really have to focus on the acting and the dialogue specifically. So I think that's a huge strength of the movie. And because of that, I'm like, yo, that's really cool and based. And I think like a lot of modern films use their soundtrack to do a lot of heavy lifting for them. Or like a lot of American films do this as well. So like for example, Godzilla like 98. Can't go stream without me mentioning it. Specifically, I'm trying to remember what the track's name is, but it's like Big Guy Goes to or Godzilla or Big Guy Goes to Monster Heaven. It's the track that they play right at the end when they're killing him. And if you watch the movie, it's like if that track wasn't there, I don't think it would have the same kind of like effect it's supposed to have, where it that like without it looks very different, because the whole thing still kind of feels triumphant because you're kind of bringing down the big bad monster, and especially because the crowd's cheering at the end, and you don't really have time for them to be like, oh wow, we killed this like poor animal, outside of like a whimper and a little bit from Nick, and Nick does not do a whole lot of acting there to really sell that. So that is like a moment there where, at least in 98's case, is like the music carries the scene. And I'm trying to think of a good scene in the Monsterverse that does this, because a lot of them they do this, they're a lot better, honestly, overall in terms of moments like that. So if one comes to me, if someone has one, they can bring it up. But I just do know that like that's at least one problem I have in '98. But also not really spoilery, but Godzilla is like impervious to conventional weapons as to be expected, but they are able to do something similar to that of '98, but they actually do it well and are faithful to Godzilla. So yep. I'm actually gonna be probably talking about this well in the spoiler review as well as the '98 long form review as well, because there's a lot of things that were kind of done similar to like a lot of Godzilla films, but also '98 adjacently. And it further confounds the point that I have had in regards to that, but it's neither here nor there. Question: are you a brownie? Do we mean brownie in the sense of like Girl Scout brownies? Because in that case, no. No, I am not. And oh, I guess not super spoilery either, but if there were some Godzilla movies that I would say have a lot in common with -1 or do things similar to -1, it'd be 54, 84, 98 to some degree, but I'll get into that on Friday. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, and GMK. So those will be the movies that have something similar to -1, or -1 does something similar to them. And in so many ways, like if when you've seen the film and I'm able to talk about spoilers, those comparisons will make a whole lot more sense. But what's interesting, honestly, is this film was 2 hours long, and the main Godzilla Rampage is not that long, honestly. Like it is satisfying. It is really satisfying, but it really does not last that long. And most of the film, like for a film that's like 2 hours and some minutes, it really felt like a short film. I could probably have sat through like another 30 minutes or probably an hour of what was going on there. I was that engrossed in the film. Because let me see. Yeah, 2 hours and 5 minutes. Will Etienne hate -1? Like I think Rob will like it. Like he likes the original. What I'll say is I think he'll probably criticize the CGI more than I am, at least. I think that the what else will he probably criticize? I think he'll probably criticize maybe how Godzilla, like what happens near the end of the film. I think I'm sure like you'll have to ask him, but I think overall will he like it? Yeah, I think he'll like it. And he's either seen the movie like probably either tomorrow or Friday, and he'll definitely be doing a stream on it one of those days. So like I don't think you have too much to worry about, if I'm being honest. But yeah. Yeah, another thing too, I guess. The film has a almost calling card for Godzilla, and they like I can't describe them in too much detail, but it relates back to something that was talked about in 54, has an interesting spin on it that I think in a way is kind of like pseudo pulpy / Lovecraftian in how it's presented. And like I really do think that the film has a lot of commonality with like early sci-fi pulp, American blockbusters. Like how it paces some of its humor. Scenes like the time in the ocean, a lot of people have been comparing it to Jaws. It's very similar to that, especially because we do get some character insight while they're out at sea, and I like every character there is able to perform something of use out there, and we can see like their characters be expanded because of that. So that I think that's cool too. And some people said like it's very similar to like Jurassic Park, which is only I'd say applicable to like one scene, honestly. And you'll know exactly what scene that is when it happens. And like though that scene's like I think that I love the film, but that like whole sequence and the implications of that are so interesting to the greater mythos of Godzilla that I wanted to do a post saying that I wanted to hold off doing more work on the Odo Island audio drama because of what I heard was happening with Minus One. And I think I do want to incorporate some of this film's mythos into what I've been doing on Odo Island because I think that actually that is like it can add for a really interesting plot point. So again, so many things that are like really, really like close to spoilery, and I want to talk about it, but I think overall, I would at least give Godzilla Minus One a 9 out of 10. I don't think any film's a like 10 out of 10, but like everyone's got like their like amazing like S tier things, like patrician tier or something like that. I do think like this film is up there. It is like really, really interesting, and I am probably going to be doing several video essays on it after I finish some of the other videos I've been working on. So I have I have an article that I'm working on for my school in regards to this movie. So once the stream is done, I'm going to be doing some more work on that, and once that is all done, I will be doing more work on the channel, and then I get to really get into the fun, juicy Minus One stuff because by then the movie's been out, and I can be like, yes. You can't say I'm spoiling it when the movie's out now, and you don't want spoilers. Don't watch watch certain things. But like, if you guys can, please try to go out and see the movie. If you are not in an area where you don't think that you can, like try to make things work, carpool, like yeah. I'm not saying do anything illegal or anything like that, or really do something that's gonna like put any schedules you have in a like tight spot. But I do think that it's important that people see this movie because it's what a lot of people I think have been wanting from a Godzilla movie, and I think that success of this will see the like direction I think the franchise takes after Minus One to be important. But there is a lot of ways that things could go post Minus One, and not all of them have to specifically focusing on Godzilla. So the things like that could happen, and I know people have been saying that like, oh, Minus One is what the world of Godzilla is, and that this will finally launch that cinematic universe that Toho wants to do. I don't think anyone should believe that without like Toho specifically saying that like World of Godzilla is indeed going to be a thing, and this is launching it, because I think that creates unnecessary copium/hopium for people, and I would rather them see this film and give their opinions on it. So it can be like, oh, this is what we've heard. Maybe we can improve on things from here. I actually plan to watch Minus One with someone who worked on 98, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, cool. Is it it's not Joiner. I assume it's someone else, right? But that's interesting. That's just like one of the advantages of living out on the West Coast is that a lot of people in Hollywood are near that area. So lucky. But anything else that's like I can do that isn't spoilery because I'm like curse you spoilers or the spoiler culture kind of thing. But we do get to see something actually a few things interesting happen to Godzilla that haven't been touched on in a while, and a few things that like doing something that was like really cool that one time, we're gonna see that again. So that's something to look forward to. I would also say that like if I know like some people are saying like the film's a period piece, it kind of is. But if you're looking for like a deep dive into like Japanese history specifically, you're not going to get that. But I do think you're getting information from like a well-crafted world from someone who knows that time period well, and similar to the Always scene where people always said they wanted to see a full-length version of that movie. In a lot of ways, yes, it is very much like that. Like the dreams from like the dry spell for Godzilla concept where people were using the Always scene for like the supposed new trailer of a Godzilla movie kind of has come to pass. With the time it takes place in, how does it compare to classic monster movies of the 50s from America and Japan? So like the thing in that case is that you're talking about a country that lost the war versus a country that ended up winning the war, and a lot of, I think not a lot of, all, I'm not sure if there are any exceptions I can think of off the top of my head, take place during World War II. A lot of them take place, a lot of these monster movies takes place post World War II, and you're dealing with the baby boom at this point, and like America being on top and now having to deal with new threats because of the atomic age, rather than being in a compromised position and having to have to deal with the consequences of that and being extremely vulnerable. I think like you only really see that for at least American movies that are sci-fi related is like if it's an apocalypse like Walking Dead or something like that, or 2012, so or Day After Tomorrow. So like it's very different, and even in comparison to 54, this film, at least setting wise, you're dealing with a much more impoverished Japan. And of course, like it's 7 years, or most of the film takes place 7 years before even 54 would happen. So there is like a lot to be said about where Japan is at this point versus where America is post World War II. So, but in terms of like, honestly, in terms of like tone, outside of 54, 84, and like I said, GMK are the closest in terms of how they are tonally, where knowledge of Godzilla is known to some, but there is a desire not to have that knowledge get out, and because of that, there is an extreme sense of dread because they know they can't stop Godzilla. They know Godzilla is heading towards Japan, and because of that, like the country's already in a sorry state, and barely anything's being rebuilt. So like, what's gonna happen if something just comes and destroys it? Like, what is just getting up from the ashes? Which I think the director really did a lot to get it like as much mileage out of his title that even I thought was kind of like fan fictiony in how it sounded. So props to him in terms of like getting a really good title that wasn't just Godzilla. Because honestly, this film is another one of those films where you could have just called it Godzilla and it would have worked. But -1 is like super I love it. It's peak film, 9 out of 10. I recommend everyone go see it. See it as much as you can. Collect and consume as much of the merch as you can. And I look forward to talking about it more come Friday when more people have seen it, because I would have seen it 3 times by this point. and it's getting sort of late, and I still got some work and classes to do between now and then. So I hope you all have a great night, and I thank you all for the people who kind of were chilling here with me. Peace out, guys.